Hey guys, hope everyone is doing well. I um I wanted to share something with you all that one of my mentors shared with me several years ago, and for whatever reason, it came up in my heart, a few days ago, and I realized that one thing, out of so many things that she shared with me, it stuck with me. And it wasn't something that I thought about every single day, maybe every few years, I thought about it. And I'm so grateful that I'd had that opportunity to just be in her presence and to hear that. Now, this wasn't my business mentor. This was more of what I would call a life mentor. I met her ironically near when I owned a brick and mortar service based business for about 10 years, and there was a business coming next door. And all of us in that area were wondering, like, what business is going to go there. But I see my who ended up being my one of my life mentors at the Office Depot that was near where my business was. I complimented her on her hair, and then boom, we run into each other again. And I learned that she is managing the store that's next to the brick and mortar business that I owned. And so that's how we originally met. And, God is just so amazing because I clearly heard him say in my heart to honor her. So I found different ways to honor her. Over time, we became really, really close. And she shared something with me that has been really powerful, in my life. And I really wanted to share it with you all. So if you're on, say hello in the comments. I'm hoping that this word will be as powerful and as impactful for you as it has been for me. So I remember at the time that she told me, I may have been, oh, because you guys see in the title what my mentor told me, and this is for ladies who are 40, close to 40, or in their 40s. I think it will be impactful. Hey, Sharonda, darling, how are you? For you. Hopefully it will, as impactful as it was for me. Do me a favor, share it out with somebody, tag a girlfriend, that's close to 40, in her 40s, somewhere in that decade range. But I remembered, I was thinking yesterday, I was like, well, exactly how old was I when she, shared this with me? And I was 38 at the time. So I was 37, 38, somewhere around that time. And I remember she told me, let me put Volume Hair Salon. Hey there, how are you? I'm going to put a title over here for Instagram. So I'm talking about what my mentor shared with me that changed my life. And this is especially for women who are really close to 40, in their 40s, in that range. So I was about 38. And at this particular time, this is what my life was looking like, around that time. So I shared with you that I owned a brick and mortar service based business for about 10 years. And around this time, I was really undecided on what I wanted to do as it related to the brick and mortar business. On top of that, I was married for 14 years. I've been divorced now for 3. And my ex husband and I were separated for the first time because we actually separated twice, during my marriage, my previous marriage. So we were separated for the first time during that time. So if you guys can just, put yourselves mentally in the space that I was in at that time, there were a lot of decisions that I needed to make. I was undecided. There wasn't a lot of clarity for me at that time. It was also during that time. Well, I'll share that in a moment. But so as I'm sharing, she knows what's going on with me or whatever. We're kind of talking about it. I didn't go to her like dumping all my stuff and things like that, but we were close. And I was able to, give perspective on what was going on with my life. And she shared with me, she said, by the time you're 49, I don't know, she could have said 48, she could have said 50 or whatever. But she said, by the time you're 49, you want to have an idea of what you're going to do, especially in your space in the world, especially in your business. She said, because by the time you turn 50, you're not going to operate from the same energy that you had before. Now, this is not to discourage anyone who may be past 49 or in their 50s at all, because it's never too late for a fresh start. But we also don't know the day, the time, the hour, all of those things. So, what she was telling me as it related to what I would do in my life and my business was to figure it out, basically to figure it out as much as I possibly could. Because I believe that we are always evolving, we're always growing and learning and all of those things. But what I have realized as a woman in her 40s is that the 40 decade is it's a critical mark for us as women. And most people don't realize how critical that time frame actually is. And so it's because of what she shared with me. And I could cry out of gratitude. Just that one thing, guys, has impacted my life so much, because what it really made me do, it made me go into another level, a deeper level of introspection, of really looking at my life, looking at my business, answering the questions and being super honest with myself. Like at the time I shared, I owned a brick and mortar service based business. I had about 12 staff members. My goal was to get the business to the point where I could generously pay someone to just completely run it. But when I looked at where the business was and where it would need to be, where my lifestyle wouldn't have to change in order to do that, for what I knew at that time, it would be about another, 3-year time frame. And I didn't want to lose that time that I would have with my daughter. Is this making sense with anybody? Somebody tap the screen if this is making sense with anyone. So although I knew that, in 2 to 3 years, I could make that happen, the years that my daughter was entering into were just like super sensitive for me personally, right? And I did not want to invest the amount of time I had been investing into trading my time for dollars. Now, this is how beautiful it all unfolds, because around the same time, now mind you, I'm in transition. So I had stopped hiring people at this time because I didn't want to bring anybody into a business that I wasn't sure what I wanted to do with it in the next year or two, right? So I told myself, I said, okay, whoever's here, I'm not getting rid of anybody, but I'm not hiring new people, right? While I figure out this transitional space that I'm in my life. And around the same time, and I share that because it wasn't like there was an abundance of just disposable income coming in. A lot of times when we're in transition, we do what's necessary, to get it done and all the things. And then I wasn't hiring new people. And it was a fairly large business where we provided services. But what did happen around that time was I found out about a conference. This lady came to our church. She was a life coach. I didn't know what a life coach was. At that time, I don't think I even looked at the title. I was just impacted so much by what she shared. So I ended up going to a conference that didn't necessarily make financial sense. I mean, I had the money or I wouldn't have been able to go. But if I had allowed fear and limitation to control me, I wouldn't be coaching today. So I'm a certified life coach and a business coach, and I teach women from around the world. I do it from the comfort of my home, guys. But this particular conference that I went to, that was life changing. And it's because of what my mentor told me, because I started like really doing an introspection on the inside. Are you happy? Was a question I asked myself. If nothing changes, are you okay with doing the same thing for the rest of your life? Right? These were questions I was asking myself. Is it the time that you're missing with your daughter? Do you want to continue doing that? All the questions. Is this, I was married at the time, is this marriage healthy and something that you can do for the rest of your life? because I understood what she was telling me was in that decade of time. I had a little more than a decade at that time. Um, before turning 49, there were some things I needed to clear up and figure out and get going in my life, because when I heard her, what I heard her say was, when you get 50, the same stamina that you have now at 38, the same drive that you have now at 38, it won't be there. Now, she wasn't being disheartening, and this isn't to be disheartening for those of you who are, on the other side of the spectrum heading towards that new decade, or even those of you who are younger. It is not to cause you to fear. But when I look at many women in the 40 range, close to 40 range, I feel so many are taking it for granted. Do you guys hear me? I feel we are, I feel there are many women who are just kind of going through the motions, right? Um, like for me, I knew there were some things that I had written. I wrote this 20-year vision plan out. I started it in early 2000s. And when my mentor shared that with me, it made me go back and look at that vision and then ask myself a few questions, like the way that your life is going now, although publicly, right? It was going well, although the way society is set up, where we do very average things and, you know, kind of consider ourselves comfortable with dreams on the inside of us and desires that God has placed that we never see come to fruition. So I went back and looked at that list and I said, I, I have to do something different. I have to bet on myself. I can no longer keep talking about what I want to do and not having it come into fruition at the level that I want it to come into fruition. Am I making sense? Somebody click like, say, hey, something in the comments to let me know this is registering for you all. And so I went to that particular conference that I went to around the same time. And it was there that, now, mind you, it was a 3-day conference, but I promise you, and it was expensive, it was some thousands. I had to pay for a hotel and um, flight and all of those things at a time where, it wasn't just a whole lot of extra disposable money that I felt comfortable spending, because I didn't know what I was going to do next. But I have absolutely no regrets, right? Because in me saying yes, one, to that conference is how I became a certified life and business coach. It didn't happen at the conference, but the realization, the clarity about my call and my purpose and my assignment was realized at that conference. And I'm sharing this with you all because I know that so many of you, because of who we serve, have these big desires and dreams and goals that God has planted in your heart, right? That you kind of been tiptoeing around, you do a little bit of it, all the things. Anybody? Anybody? But it hasn't really come into fruition. You haven't really given yourself full permission to manifest what it is. And a lot of it is the world space that we live in. There are a lot of people on jobs that they hate. Jobs that they hate, as if there is no other alternative. I read a study some years ago that talked about what were the biggest things that people regret once they are closer to, their life is ending. They're much older than, in their 40s, but as their life is ending, what are some of their biggest regrets? Here are some of them. Working too much, especially in areas that you don't love. Working too much, especially in areas you don't love. I was just speaking with someone the other day who was talking about how their job had ended. and one of the promises they made to themselves, and they run a business as well. Now, it was a personal cause, so I wasn't coaching them, but I wanted to coach them because I heard them still like dialing back their life to the job, when, because in my eyes, right, because I've been an entrepreneur for over 28 years, so I've created my own revenue for way more than I've ever worked a job. I may have worked for someone 5 years, my entire time of, earning money and things of that nature. And so I do understand that, my perspective may be a little different, but I also transitioned out of a industry that I had been doing my entire career to coaching and consulting full time. I am location free. I work from the comfort of my home, or a hotel if I want to. And I had to bet on myself. I also had to take that time. I was embarking on my 40s at that time and say, look, what is it that you really want to do? What is it that you really want to do? If you're going to do it now. This is what I shared with myself. But here are some regrets people have: not believing in themselves and having the confidence to live the life they really want, not the one that looks, okay for public or for social media, or because traditionally this is the route that you take. Because there are certain industries that the normalcy of the path of growth in that particular industry is for you to go from this stage to that stage. Thank you, Shia, so much for sharing that, to another stage, when it's really that next stage that's normal is not really what you want to do. You're feeling called to something completely different. You're feeling led to do something completely different. I'm not saying to ditch what you have going on, but I am encouraging you, especially for those of you who are tapping on 40's door, or you're in that 40 decade, right? What she shared with me was, when you hit 49, you should have a solid foundation, so that, this is what she said, and she used her hands, so that you can coast, so that you aren't having to go create the wheel in your 50s. I hope this is making sense to you guys. So that you aren't having to find the energy from somewhere else. See, the age range of 40's is a time where women begin to recognize that they're possibly aging. I do think there are some races like ours that are advantageous, right? Where, we don't age as quickly as some other races, but the thought that we're aging does come up. Society has all of these negative implications, that once you reach a certain age, you won't get married and nobody's going, all of the stuff that women have to deal with from society as well, right? And that, even that emotional stuff will drain some of the energy that we normally need, to keep building and doing things. I'm not saying that you aren't going to keep building, right? But it is going to have to come from a different place. And what I see happening for women who do not, like during this, and 40 makes you start thinking about some things, right? Crappy relationships. And maybe you all haven't attached your age to it. But if you go back and kind of look now, you're like, yeah, it was kind of around that time where I just couldn't take this anymore or that anymore. But what I see happen, right? And this is why we have women who are 50 and 60-year-old who don't look at like it at all. And then we have those who just kind of look like they may have, just really settled in every area of their life. And I believe a lot of it is because they really didn't go after those things that were really in their heart. It was kind of like this dream, this thing that was written down, that they just kind of settled and said, okay, well, maybe, that isn't meant for me. Or it's this thing that they're always trying to realize, but never really fully getting in alignment to do it, right? So, love life. It's another thing that people said they regret it. as they got like elderly, their love life. Now, I was married, I'm divorced. I believe in marriage. I believe you should go to God about it. But some things are kind of clear, right? It was a place of reflection that I really had to tap into. I said, if we're going the way we're going now, the things that God has planted in my heart for me to do in my life, we're not gonna make it. And that's mainly because I didn't know who I was. I had some little ideas, right, when I got married, but I didn't know who I was. And it's not that my ex husband changed, I changed. I changed. One, I gave my life to Christ and I learned the truth about a whole lot of things that I didn't know. And one of it was that God desired his best for me, my the best for me in every area in my life. Here's some things that happens. Your impact in the world becomes more important to you, not what people think about you. That's completely different from your impact. All right, because a lot of times when you're in your 20s and 30s, you do spend a whole lot of your time worrying about what people think, even the people that say they don't care. If they kind of really really do that deep dive, that introspection, they care. They've been doing a lot of things because of what the public says. But it's something in that 40 stage, your focus becomes, how are you impacting the world? It becomes really important to you. It's kind of more connected to your purpose. Does that make sense? um, I want you to say, I am not settling anymore for saying I want something and not doing it. I'm not settling with myself anymore for saying I want something and not doing it. Look, me saying that to myself, because that's what I had to say. What is it in your heart? What is it that you really want to do? Remove some of these limiting beliefs that the world keeps putting on you and go and do it, right? I had to reevaluate my whole life. My whole life. You have to change what you believe you deserve. Listen, I'm telling you, women who don't step into this phase end up being the women who are trying to still look 20 in their 40s. Listen, I'm just a messenger. And their main focus is on trying to compete with 20 and 30-year olds. But there's a thing that happens in your 40s, that there's a mature beauty that begins to happen if you tap into it. If you tap into it, you can still be sexy and all those things. But women who don't like go after the things that God has planted in their heart, normally they're either spending a lot of time attempting to look 20, right? Now, I told you some of us have some advantages because of our melanin, right? But because of what goes on in our with us biologically in our race. But the mindset of trying to do that is going to keep you on like this comparison thing. It's just an unhealthy space. But there are a lot of women. This would be like the men that you would see in the club and you call him the old man in the club type thing, right? So when you don't use those 40s to really go after those things that you desire, and I don't mean that in this hard masculine way, because it does get to be easy when you have that clarity, when you are in that space of trusting that things are going to work out for your good. But for those women who don't, those would be the women that you see who look like life has been so hard for them. And others, their age, they may look more vibrant and things like that. Those 40s are a critical time. Ask yourself currently, do I get what I deserve? Do I get what I deserve? And this is the thing, guys. We really don't get what we deserve. We get what we believe. We get what we believe. And many people leave stuff on the table, ideas, things that God has shared with them because of their belief. Do you believe? And this is often a worthy issue, guys. It's often a worthy issue, whether we know it or not. I was sharing that I was on the phone with someone and they were talking about their job had ended. And I remember having a client, she had gone to college, she worked in corporate America, and she kept getting these jobs. And every couple of years, the contract would end and it felt like she was starting over. She coached with me, she became an entrepreneur, and she's moved on ever since. Ever since. From her own, what was on the inside of her, right? Um, Here's some things happening in those stages. You begin to know that life is too short for certain things to be transpiring in your life. You begin super evaluating your life. Anybody else, put me in the comments, even if you come back on um, the replay. Even if you come back on the replay. It's more important in this stage to be with people who inspire you, who bring you joy. It becomes more, that becomes more important. Here's some questions. Here's some questions. How do you want your life to be? Now's the time. How do you want your life to be? Who do you really believe you are? And what do you believe that you're really capable of? Because most of you haven't even begun to tap into a small portion of what you're capable of. Many of you. What your business is capable of, what your love life is capable of, what you yourself are capable of. Do you understand that you are made? Do you believe that you're made in the image of God? That right there helped me tremendously too. It helped me tremendously. It helped me to remove all of these traditional things and limitations that the world puts on you that keeps you from doing what's really and truly in your heart. Do you believe you're made in the image of God? Do you believe that the very essence of your nature is to evolve, to expand, and to grow, to become more? Do you believe that? Those are the things that helped me during that time. Here's some things to say. I'm not settling for crappy relationships anymore. I was created for amazing romance. I'm not underachieving anymore, right? I'm not worrying about money or um, settling anymore. And when I say worrying about money, it's because you've gotten in alignment with what it is that you really want to do, and you're doing it. And you're doing it. I knew I no longer wanted to trade my time for dollars. I wanted to be more accessible for my daughter. And I was just crazy enough to believe it, right? I was crazy enough to the point where I invested where, traditionally it wouldn't have looked like a comfortable time to invest. I didn't know fully what I would get from that conference, but it changed my life because I got a level of clarity there that talked about what I had been doing all my life, especially as a business owner. uh, the phone call that I had the other day made me realize, I was like, well, I haven't been introducing myself thoroughly, because the young lady who's been on my timeline for many years now asked me, was life coaching, did I just decide, she's a life coach, did I just decide to become a life coach? But I began life coaching in maybe 2009, right? When I didn't know what life coaching was. That is why when I went to the conference in 2011, I wept like a baby, because I had already been doing this thing that they were talking about that I had no idea what it was. I also shared with the young lady that asked, did I just go and get certified over the last year, that I've been a certified life coach since 2015. And so this is 2022. So going on 7 years.
And so I said, when I come on again, I'm going to share that because I know there are some new people watching the videos and people may have shared them out. One of the huge ways people have known me in the past was as a business coach, which, you know, I'm still a business coach as well. It's just that I'm really in alignment with inner work, right? So, for instance, my exceptional mastermind, it used to be a year-long mastermind. I've made it a 6-month mastermind now. And before, it was a lot of busy work, a lot of busy work. This go around, it's more internal. There, you got to do some work, right? Because we don't manifest just by humming and doing all those things, right? But it really allows women to take a deep introspection and really get an alignment with that thing that they really desire, which may be something different in their business, you know, another stream of revenue, a better relationship, the whole thing. So it has changed, right? One, because I've changed, because I'm understanding that people can work really, really hard and never get where they desire to go. Never get where they desire to go. So it's a huge focus on inner work, mindset, really changing the trajectory of your life, getting into spiritual alignment so that you can access the things with greater ease, um, creating, you know, new streams of revenue. And one of the areas that I felt was really, really important because also in our 20s and 30s, many of us, if we think about it, we, you know, have probably run through quite a bit of money. Anybody else know that they ran through quite a bit of money in their 20s? But I think that it's important that we have containers, right? Because we're going to, in that 6 months, we're going to enlarge our capacity to for abundance over that 6 month time frame. But we also need containers to put it in so that we're not repeating cycles. So I have a guest expert who's going to come inside the one of our sessions, who became a millionaire in their early 30s. Now, they became a millionaire 3 ways. Not these 3 ways equaled a millionaire, but in each area, they reached multiple millions, had multiple millions. Let me say that because earning $1 million doesn't make you a millionaire. It's actually having that in assets. So they became a millionaire in real estate. They became a millionaire in the stock market, and they became a millionaire through a product. So they're going to come in and talk to us about what that looked like. Um, of course, the strategies that they use or things that they use, things that they wish they had done differently, and where that space looks like now. Because um, even at this stage, they too are embracing building wealth from the inside out, which is what the Exceptional Mastermind this session is about. So, for those of you, maybe you joined the year long mastermind and you're wanting some accountability, you're wanting to really tap into what it is that you really, really desire to do, joining us again is going to be powerful for you. Or for those of you who are new to masterminds, there is an application. Those of you who have been in the mastermind before, you don't have to um, apply again. It's good that you do, but I'm just kind of letting you know alumni have an opportunity, have some other opportunities as well for joining us. But we're talking about building wealth from the inside out, really going within, creating things that are from who we are, right? Instead of saying, well, I'm just going to do this because this is what people do next, right? It's all about alignment, evolving your brand, which is, you know, what definitely has happened for me in this particular season. I've evolved my brand, but you have, and you are your brand, by the way, but you have to give yourself permission. For those of you who want to join us, for those of you who know, um, I'm in that stage. And I want things to be balanced as I'm moving into new decades. Not that you won't be growing and doing other things, right? But I do want things to be balanced. I don't want as much resistance in my life. I'm an entrepreneur. There's some things that I want to really tap into my business. And you love the inspiration, the accountability, and the wisdom that will happen inside the mastermind. There is a link at the top of the broadcast if you're on Facebook that you can tap. If you're on YouTube, the link is in the description. And if you're on Instagram, I'll come back and put that link in the comments for you. For those of you who join in March, there are some special perks that won't be available at another time. But I just think it's really important. I wanted to share, don't take the time for granted. Have the courage to give yourself permission to bet on yourself, to bet on yourself. I'm so glad, that I listened to her about that time frame, about that time frame. Now, I always want to share that I feel it's never too late for a fresh start, but I do believe how it gets done is different as we continue to mature. I do believe that. I do believe that. And I believe when I say how it gets done, meaning oftentimes we have more stuff to try to get over and get past, right? The longer that we wait, the longer that we wait. That's my take on today. I hope this has been a blessing to you all. I hope this has been encouragement for those of you who are entrepreneurs, women in business, life coaches, creatives. If you are a woman in corporate America who wants to monetize their gifts, their intellectual property, you really want to tap into things that have been on your heart. Apply to join us inside Exceptional Mastermind 2022. Again, it is a 6-month opportunity. Absolutely amazing opportunity for those of you who really want to tap in to things that maybe you really haven't been doing to the full, and the accountability and the wisdom um, and the strategy can do you some good. You guys have a good one. Be blessed. Listen, don't take this decade, right? However much time you have in there, don't take it for granted. Don't take it for granted. You will not regret betting on yourself. Okay?